Well, there's a lot more to unpack from the governor's speech last night. Let's bring in ABC 6 News political analyst Blois Olson for some analysis. Blois, was there anything that caught you off guard, or was this exactly what you expected?
Well, Axel, it's never exactly what you expect. But look, I think the governor did a good job of leaning into his accomplishments. I think his challenge is always going to be, do the things that he wants to talk about, the things that he wants to amplify, like free school lunch or graduation rates, are they overshadowed by fraud or some other statistics? Because for each statistic he throws out, his opponents will throw out another statistic or another fact, and it becomes kind of a set of dueling issues. But what I saw last night in the State of the State was a governor who clearly realizes that 8 months left, he has to establish a legacy. And he wants to use, he says, the next few weeks of the legislative session to do that, whether it's tax reform or some other signature projects. And the reality is, will he lean in? Will he spend political capital? And does he have political capital to spend to try to get some of the things he wants done?
Speaking of that fraud, Blois, yesterday you shared some preview excerpts from the governor's speech, but then came those fraud-related FBI raids later in the morning. How did that change the governor's message on fraud, if at all?
Well, he had to acknowledge it yesterday. But, you know, I've said for months, maybe even years, that this fraud story was like gum on his shoe. He couldn't get rid of it. And he kept stepping in it. And that was true yesterday again with those raids. I think that some of the parts of the raids are that not being out in front of it, not acknowledging and being specific about how the administration is part of these investigations. But these are federal investigations. And frankly, the feds, you know, and Governor Walz's administration have not worked well together on these issues.
I also want to bring up a peculiar moment, Blois, when Republicans applauded after Walz said that this was his final State of the State address, and he shot back by saying that the things we implemented will be around for decades. Do you agree that Walz's actions will in fact affect generations to come, or could a future Republican-led legislature and administration undo it all?
Well, I think that's the big question. There are things that the Democratic trifecta did that Republicans would try to roll back if they had a chance. But I think you look at a popular program like free meals in schools. If Republicans were to try to roll that back, that'd probably be very unpopular. And, you know, oftentimes when somebody gets in power and they haven't been in power, they go after those programs regardless of how popular they are. But really, I think the biggest challenge right now, and for the future legislature, Republican, Democrat, future governor, Republican or Democrat, is the fact that we have a structural budget issue. And so unless we grow our economy and grow our population, we're going to have fiscal challenges in the state budget in the years to come.
Very good, Blois. Thanks so much for joining us again today. That is all the time we have. We appreciate your time.
No problem.